Hey guys, I'm so excited to talk to you about this topic today. And I'm sitting in my house and it's a rainy summer day. And I thought, what a better day than this than to just get my fertility story out there in a little bit of a different viewpoint and a little bit of a different perspective. So, in case you don't know what happened with myself and my husband and the way that we finally had our baby, and also in case you don't know, what I hope you do, that I am a highly spiritual person and I see everything through energy and I see health energetically and I see food as energy. And so now I see these things that we have either created in our bodies that we don't like or that we do as um, part of our manifestations, or they are our manifestations. And of course, we have this beautiful tool called food to help us navigate our health. And everything in the holistic world that we do have is amazing. But this bigger picture that you have to understand, and if you are trying to have a baby, it's really an emotional thing. And I have been in ups and downs of all of it. And I really wish that when I was going through this, that I had someone to talk to about this, or that someone would even have been on my Google search coming up and saying, like, hey, there's more to this than what your doctor says. There's more to this than what your body's doing. There's more to this than just, your diet or your fertility protocol or what have you. And I searched and searched to try to find out what was wrong with me when I just really was, I just didn't see things that I see now. So, my hope for you is that this opens your eyes to whatever's going on with you and your body and your ability to become a parent. Just understand that there's an energy flowing or not flowing that you can change, and you're very powerful. And I learned that I was very powerful and that I was, in fact, manifesting the very things that I was into my life. And at the beginning, that meant no baby, and then it meant baby. So I want to explain this and tell you my story from the lens of manifestation. All right. So from from this energy standpoint, I mean, you guys, I have learned so much about creating your reality and energy just because am an entrepreneur, and like that's what you just get into the rabbit hole. You learn about how the world really works. You read these books, self-development and desires and creation, and it's amazing. And so I love it. And I also love that I've been able to apply this to health for people and for myself, and to see things in a completely different way than before, where before it just felt like, well, I can eat apples instead of chips. And like, that's what I can do. And there was a long period when I was feeling so sick and frustrated with my body and with fertility that I felt so powerless. I felt so helpless, and I just felt like crap, basically. And this is the part that I didn't know, along with the food part that I didn't used to know. So let me back up. So prior to trying to have a baby, I was happy. I was healthy, or so I thought, like I didn't have physical symptoms of any kind. It was just, except for that I didn't get my period. So there you go. And so from a perspective of like wanting to have a baby, you like need to figure that part out, right? And as we got into the process, it just like turned very difficult very quickly. So, and this is partially probably because um, I just wasn't in this world it's like now I see the world so differently. I see, um, when we live just looking at diet or food or like medicine or Western medicine, it's like, well, this is the way it is, and this is your only option. And I believed that. And so there was all these feelings about, well, something's wrong with me. Like my body is broken. Like what's the matter with me? Like why can't I just be normal? Like what's the matter with me? And I felt such guilt and I felt so um like unworthy and like just separate and different from like all the normal girls that just could get pregnant naturally and go on their merry way, right? So like we're doing the thing, like we're going to the doctors, and the outcome that they tell us is like, well, you have to do IVF. It's the only way. Because we had done a few like months of just taking medicine like to create ovulation that did not work. And so like it was sort of a heavy, not sort of, it was this heavy weight on my husband and I, and I just kept feeling more and more guilty. Like, okay, my body doesn't work. We're trying all this stuff. It's taking long already. Um, and now we have to do all these difficult procedures. And like when you get into the world of IVF, you're like, holy cow, are you freaking kidding me? Like there's schedules and calendars and shots and hormones and bags of drugs and shots and nurses and all these trips, and our doctors did not even live in our city, so we had to drive like 2 hours every time we went, which was a lot. And so it was just like, are you even kidding me right now? And then the money, like, oh my god, it was so expensive. And I'm like, I'm paying for this, I'm paying to be like tortured like this. And this was just how I felt. So you have to understand, I know that there's people that go through IVF and it works like magic. Not There's not so many like that, but it does happen and people just see it differently. But I always, because of whatever I had seen about IVF and I had known people to do it and seen their pain, and I just had a really fear-based philosophy around it. And so of course, when then dun dun dun, like that's what I have to do, it felt like, well, I just have to suck it up and do this thing that I don't want to do, that I'm so afraid of, that I'm freaking out about, that I don't want to do shots for, but I have to. Like I felt like I had to, like it was my only choice, my only option. And that if I didn't do it, then my husband would be disappointed in me. We would never have a baby, and on, sad story, you know? And like today, the person that I am, I just want to go back and like shake my former self and be like, girl, wake up. You were like one Google search away from a totally different experience. But of course, this is how I got here. And I'm so happy to be on the other side of it now and to be talking about it. So, like the energy was so heavy. So, when you talk about manifestation, like if you, let's just say you're a person that wants to manifest a baby, so that means you have this desire to have a baby, right? The desire is the physical manifestation that you want to see. You want to hold the baby in your arms, you want it to be real. And it starts with the thought in your mind. It starts with something that was given to you. And I believe completely that if you have this longing, if you have this desire in you to be a parent, then that you didn't make that up. And if you aren't sure, then you need to right away, first step, get real with, is this my desire, or is this like society's desire or someone else's desire? Because it's not going to work otherwise. It has to be your desire. And so I had the desire. It just wasn't like a very strong one at the time. And so there's that. Like, so there's on this one end, on the right side, you've got this desire. And then here you are at the starting point. And then all in the middle, your path that can be and is supposed to be simple and easy and effortless is colored with the resistance. And so you can even tell by the way that I'm talking about this how resistant it was because number one, I had fear. I had so much fear of the process. So I had to factor that in, right? Looking at it now, how easily could this even work for me when I'm like cringing my way through the days? Like ouch, a shot, like oh my god, more drugs, like food dye and my estrogen pills, and all the while I start feeling like the side effects of this medication. It hit me so fast and my process was like drug out because they didn't want to hyperstimulate me. So it's like low, slow dose. And it just kept going on and on and on. And like day after day after day, this stuff just like accumulated in my body. And so what I know now about manifesting and health and emotions, that emotions get stuck in our body and we have these memories tied to these experiences and that there's physical feelings in our body. And so I was basically like really building a bunch of fear and frustration and hatred inside my body. And it just kept like growing and growing and growing. And my mindset like would go worse and worse and worse all the time. And that's not the way that you manifest something. So the simplest way to look at it is you could have a super, super strong desire and you could have a ton of resistance. If your desire is so strong, like it's so strong, like I have to have this baby no matter what, it's greater than the well, I have to do shots, well, I have to do IVF. I don't like this, but like I'll do anything. Like I was not in that boat. So my resistance was like overpowering the desire. And my desire in the first place wasn't looked at. And so that's like what I want you guys to do if this is anywhere near where you are. You have to look at this reason that you want to have a baby and you have to clear all the cobwebs away from it and look at why do you want to have the baby and what right now is in the way on your path to manifesting the baby that could be keeping you stuck or keeping you getting no results or keeping you repeating the pattern. So there's all these layers. So you could still want the baby and be like okay with the path, but you could have like stored beliefs and stored emotions that are keeping you stuck. And so all of this needs to be addressed. So essentially, because the process was already coming from a place of fear, it wasn't going to work. It wasn't going to work. And because the physicalness, because you guys, how you feel in your body is so powerful. It's so powerful. And when we start talking about medication and we start talking about drugs and we start talking about take pills and shots to turn your body off, that's what it was. They gave me medication to make my body stop working, to make my hormones turn off, to make the organs producing the hormones turn off, so that then it could be manipulated and controlled per science in a way that should create the eggs and then the baby. And I just like, I don't even know how I was okay with this. But, like I said, I just didn't know what I know now. And so when the body is manipulated per drugs and medication, like this is a big deal. This is a huge deal. Like you're you are alive in your physical body. It's the only body that you have and it knows what to do. It knows how to heal, it knows how to balance your hormones, it knows how to have good digestion, it knows how to cure things, it knows how to create energy. And like just the idea that I'm going to overpower that, override that with medication that's doing that, one, but two, also has additives, also has coloring, also has fillers. Like one of the medicines that I was using is like a prostate cancer medication. And I realized that one day and I was like, oh my God, what? It just doesn't even make sense. So that was going on. And then because I felt so badly, it just became a pattern. And this is what I see so often with people, whether it's, um, adrenal fatigue, or whether it's thyroid stuff, or whether it's like, I just can't get out of this hole that I feel in with my lack of health. It's because, like, there's been an emotional memory tied and sucked in and built in to your physical body. And so all of that has to be unraveled to get out of where you are, right? So from that position, I just kept going, like, in a downward spiral for real. It was like worse and worse. Body felt worse. My mindset was worse. I was so upset, and I was relieved every time that it didn't work. So that right there is a huge sign that should have bells going off saying, like, okay, I don't think this is probably the right time to try to have a baby. I don't think this is what um is on your path right now. So I had resistance. I had resistance to the process. I had resistance now in my body. And I didn't want it because I didn't want to feel worse. Like, even I was laying on this table. If you guys have done this, you know what I'm talking about. Like, your bladder is full. It's so painful. Like, I was bloated. My ovaries were the size of grapefruits. I had a full bladder. I was so tired. I had just come off all the shots and then the egg retrieval procedure, come back a few days later, on the table in the OR. The doctor looks at me and goes, "Well, are you sure you want to do this? Because if you do get pregnant, your symptoms are going to get worse." And I was like, "Are you effing kidding me?" Like, that doesn't sound fun. But, like, what was I gonna do? Like, say, "Oh, yeah, I changed my mind. Let's go home, honey," and drive 2 hours back and, like, don't have the embryologist hand over the embryo right now that's 1 second away. I mean, like, but seriously, like, I just wish I would've, I don't know. I don't even know. But the fact is, I was scared to feel worse because I had never felt this bad in my life. I never felt like my body wasn't my own. I had never felt so out of control, so emotional, and so unstable. And so I would, do the procedure. It didn't work. We would take a break. Actually, the first time we didn't even take a break. We just did it again, took a break. I'd feel a little better. So we tried again. One time it worked. Then I was freaking out because it worked, and then I miscarried, and then we tried it one more time, and then after that final fourth time, I was like, "Okay, I think that I must be insane." And my husband was like, this agreeing, like, "We can't keep doing this. It doesn't even make sense. What something has to give." And that was when the instant that I said no, the instant that I said, "I can't do this anymore. I'm not okay with this anymore. I'm not available for this anymore. My health, my mind, the way I feel about myself, in myself, matters more to me than pushing and forcing." That's not the way it's supposed to be, you guys. It's not supposed to be pushing and forcing and so hard. I think this is one thing I'm getting over and over and over in my life. It's that when we make things hard, when our health is not working, when our body isn't working, when something in our life isn't working, we're the ones that are throwing the fits. We're the ones that are throwing the resistance on the path because it's not meant to be. It's like universal law that it's not meant to be hard. God isn't over there holding things over your head saying, "No, it has to be hard for you." It's all stuff to work through. I know this. And so I gave up. So in the instant that I gave up, it was like a day later that I my eyes were opened to this whole world of nutrition in a different way, of cleansing, of food, of my liver. Like, the people came in, the mentors came in, the books came in, and I absorbed it, and I, like, couldn't get enough of it. And I changed my whole life. I changed the way I did everything. I changed the way I took care of myself. I put myself as a priority again, for truly, though, truly having health in my body. I wasn't thinking about having a baby at this time. All I cared about was getting getting back to feeling good, getting back to feeling well. And it wasn't that my husband and I ever said, oh, well, we're not going to, like purposely, we didn't say or do anything. We just said, we just need a break. And so what happened during those years after that was it was a lot just easier. Like everything started to flow again. And, after a while, we entertained this idea of um, maybe we should look for a gestational carrier. And first, my husband was like, no way. That was so weird. And then, yeah, I was like, yeah. And then we started looking and it was like so weird. And then we just gave it more space. And he's like, oh, maybe that would be a good idea. And I was like, yeah, maybe that would be a good idea. And then we had something come through and then that fell away. And I honestly, I did have a lot of like, I thought it was going to happen with this person and then it didn't. And I can still see myself like sitting in my workout room, like it didn't work. We're so close to like starting the process. And I was like gripping it. I was still trying to control it. And then I really released it. And like after that, I can tell you there was like a good, I don't know how many months where I did not think about this at all because you have to go back and I had to understand and I had to learn that I wasn't ready. I didn't want to get pregnant at that time. I was literally going back to school, like with a backpack every day. I was driving 2 hours, going to class all day, coming back, teaching Pilates in the afternoon, studying, trying to eat some food, go to sleep. I hardly saw my husband. Can you imagine, like, if I did get pregnant, that would be absurd. And I don't even know what would have happened. And then I decided that I wanted to put my nutrition business online. I got into this cool coaching academy. I was traveling, but that's when it happened. When I was so happy with what I was doing, I was fulfilling what my bigger desire was. My first desire, my first baby was my business baby. I I wanted that. I wanted to feel that my soul's purpose was being fulfilled through that. And it doesn't mean you can't have both. And you might not want a business, or you might want a business and a baby like me. I don't know. But like everybody's soul has a purpose and your desires are for a reason. And so if there's something else that needs to go before this, then it needs to go before this. You need to look at it. And so I was really happy. And that's when I had no resistance. I knew that it was going to happen. I did not know how. I did not care how. I was not attached. I wasn't even thinking about it. So this is like the flip flop, right? Like before, I had like a desire, but it was a weaker desire and I had a ton of resistance. And then it shifted, right? Because I focused on what I needed to focus on. I focused on health and healing. And I can't stress how important it is that you get your body in this place where you know what's right. You know how food works. You know that you're healthy. You are in charge. You get it. Like there, you can be in this place, you guys, where someone tells you like, oh, you're infertile, you'll never have a baby, or you're like, screw that. Like, no, you're wrong. And like, I know how the body works. Like, and that's what I'm so blessed to know now. Like, I know how the body works. I know what it takes in the physical body to create fertility. It's not that hard, but these mindset pieces are so strong. So you've got to look at both. And so then I shifted to, I still have this desire and I know it's done. And that's what it is when you're manifesting. You know it's done. And you can have that knowing, but you have to own it. And because then I didn't care, like I didn't care when, I didn't care how, I wasn't obsessing about it, right? This is what all manifestation coaches teach. Like you can't be like, how's it going to happen? How are the clients going to come? How's the money going to come? On and on and on. That's controlling. That's obsessing. No, that doesn't work. So I just had all this freedom and I was thinking about other things. So there's different ways to do it, right? Because if you want to focus on it and clear stuff, you can, but I didn't really think about it. And so that's when, in like the most magical ways possible, my sister decided she wanted to do it. And she had decided this for years before, you guys. I didn't know. And I didn't know this till it happened. I never asked her to carry for me. I never asked either of my sisters to. My baby sister was like, "How much will you pay me?" And I was like, "Dude, you drink Diet Dr. Pepper." So, but she gets it, like, and it wasn't right for her. But the thing is, like, I never asked my sister to do this, and this is what I want you to see, that God, the universe, it's already mapped out, and there's more than one way, but it's better than you could have expected, right? Because before, when I was looking for a carrier, I was so worried. Once I learned about health, I was so worried about what is she going to eat? What is she going to do? What's her emotional state like? What does she believe about health? What does she believe about love? And I, for a little bit, was very like, well, you just have to take what you can get. But no, this stuff matters, you guys. Like, I can't tell you, your baby is being influenced by who you are, your thoughts, emotions, your beliefs, and what you eat in the womb, in the womb. And so it is a big deal. It does matter. You do get to have what you want. And my sister, we have been on a health journey together, and like, we believe the same things about food. We believe in real food. We believe in a plant-based diet. We believe in getting rid of toxins. And like, she's really good at being pregnant. She's a mom, and she had known this for a while. She and her husband had talked about it. They talked about it with a counselor. And then when they came to us, it was like, wow, like, seriously, you want to do this? And everything, like, just click, click, click. It fell into place, even though it felt like, wow, how is this actually going to work? There always is going to be some of that, because transferring a baby, legal stuff, contracts, doctors, but the thing is, even when we had it all mapped out, and I and my husband and my sister and her husband, we told our doctors, like, oh, by the way, we're not going to do this with drugs. Why would we have to when she's got a regular cycle? Um, they were like, well, no one does that. We're like, we're doing that. They just wanted to have better controlled outcomes, but we're like, no, this is divine. This is divine timing. And like, in our guts, we already knew it was going to work. And so, of course, we went into it. I remember this day, she and I were in the doctor's office, and we had to go up because they had to do like an ultrasound of her uterus to like check the lining and see where she was at. And initially, the ultrasound tech was like, like, you can just tell when they're like, uh-oh. And I was like, oh no, what is it? And the nurse came in and was like, oh, we think it's too late. We think like she already ovulated or something. And so we were just sitting there like, well, whatever it is, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And then the doctor finally comes in, and he's like, wow, it's like your perfect timing. And then all we had to do was come back one time later for the actual transfer. And it was like, here you go, put in this baby. And it was her, me, my husband, the doctor, the embryologist. And it was like so strange. Like, that morning we pick her up, and she's like saying goodbye to her kids, like, oh yeah, mommy's gonna go on a trip with Aunt Jody. And like, they didn't know yet, because of course it was too early for that. They were just little. But of course, the outcome. Of course, that it worked. And we just had this knowing. And it's really funny, because I think that this analogy of being pregnant is like so perfectly beautiful for manifestation in general, but especially if you're someone who wants to manifest a baby. Because think about what it is. Like, when you're having a baby, they call it you're expecting. And for the longest time, right, like, nobody really knows. Like, you can't see the baby. You don't even look different. You might not even feel different. So it's like, in 1 second, you get this phone call where they're like, we're calling with good news. We're calling with good news. And it's like, wow, like, we were just going for a walk trying to wait for this phone call. And 1 second before, she was pregnant, but we didn't know, but we had a knowing. And then from there on, it's like, you have the expectation that it is working, that it does work, that it is working for you. And you just have that peace because without seeing it, without knowing how, it's just done, it's just done. And so wherever you're at, you sort of want to think about it as like you're already pregnant, right? But first you want to sort through everything. Like you need to look at your desire, you need to look at the strength of your desire, you need to look at any resistance that could be on your path. And I also want to say that, like I'm not against people doing what they need to do if they want to take medicine or fertility stuff. I think that it's the same as like people that take different medications. It's like sometimes when you don't know the alternative, it's like, oh, okay, great, that's the solution. I'm going to do that, and then it works because you expect it to. It's sort of like placebo effect. I just know that I can't get behind it anymore, knowing what it does. And like that's what happens when you learn about food and health. It's like you literally and physically know what's happening when you eat an organic apple versus a not organic apple. You see what happens when you put toxins in your body versus not. And it's it's like once you know something, I can't unknow this. I can't unknow this. And so if you know stuff and you think you have to do it a certain way, you don't. You don't. Um, it's different than trying to control the how. It's just what you're available for. So if you know that you want to have a baby and you're going to release that to allow your body to have a baby or to allow another way, like maybe it's like I did, a gestational carrier. Also, I just want to say, like, I healed my body. I went from no hormones going on to hormones going on just fine, balanced. Like, I get my cycle, I ovulate, I feel good, I don't feel toxic, nothing is stuck. I know how my body works because I learned. And it's a really powerful lesson to learn. And so before I got there, God was able to deliver our baby in this other beautiful way. So I always laugh and I think about this and I say, wow, I am so powerful that I manifested a baby and I healed my body and I didn't even have to deliver the baby. And, like it doesn't have to be that way for you. And I know that my body can carry a baby now. So that's what I know. That's what I learned. And I don't have to put any pressure on it. I don't tell myself stories. I don't tell myself that it's too late, that I'm too old. Like, no, like, don't believe that stuff, you guys. You don't have to let those lies in, because it just becomes a story. It just becomes stuck. And so I want you to look at wherever you are in this process. If you're just like starting to try, then my best advice would be get healthy. Like, figure it out. Like, you got to learn this. It's so important. I can't tell you enough. Like, with the way that the world is, with the way that the food system is, with the way that our bodies are by the time we're 20s, 30s, 40s years old, if we haven't been taught this stuff, your body isn't as strong as it could be. It isn't going to be as easy as it could be. And when you're pregnant, the baby takes most of your nutrients. You need to be coming from a strong place. Afterwards, dude, it's hard. I don't know if you have a baby already, multiple, and you want more, but it's not easy. It's so not easy. And I didn't even physically have the baby, and it still wasn't easy. Of course, it's amazing, but it's still not easy. And I think only moms know this. So I want you to feel good. I want you to be so certain. I want you to be so confident in that you know that no matter how it goes, how it happens, what's going on, you know that you're healthy because there is this way. And it's partially like doing the things, but it's also just knowing like, and that's enough. And this is the way I'm meant to be. This is how it is. This is what I get to have. And so whatever you decide you get to have, You get to have that. And you can decide whatever you want. And you can decide that you want to do it a certain way or you're open to doing it other ways. You just need to look at the power of your desire and any ways that that desire is being slowed down or limited or held back and everything around it. So, um, that's my story. That's how I manifested my baby. And sure, there's like more details because this was like an 8-year process, but I just wanted to kind of sum it up with the energy perspective because once I allowed myself to have what I really wanted, it was like like now I just have this like relief. I just can breathe and know that you don't have to choose, um, but you do get to decide. So there's more at play than what your doctor says. There's more at play than what you've been told by anyone. And it gets to work for you. It's never too late. It gets to work for you. You just have to know if it's your true desire. Get everything out of the way physically, emotionally, and mentally that could be in the way, sticking up your process. And then the path will beautifully unfold. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Um, you can leave me a comment if you want to know about working with me, how to manifest your health, your baby body ready body. I put the link underneath this audio training, but it's also on my website, jodybullock.com. So I just want everyone to know this. I want everyone to know the power of healing, the power of belief, the power of your mind. And don't let anybody tell you you can't have what you want. Okay, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.